Welcome back to the More Than Capable Mompreneur podcast. I'm Shannon Baker, a coffee-loving mompreneur that started as a virtual assistant and turned into a total systems geek. And I want to help you shift your mindset and embrace your worthiness while creating systems in your business so you can be more productive and build success on your own terms without the mom guilt. Are you loving that? Well, I hope you're ready for real conversations that will help you beat the perfectionist inside, rediscover your strengths, and up-level your self-love in the mom cracks of time so you can stop letting fear hold you back because you are enough and you do enough. We are more than capable mompreneurs. So grab your cup of coffee, some sparkling water, or pour a glass of your favorite wine and let's dive in. Welcome to episode number 97, and I am really excited about today's topic because I love talking about ways that we can be more productive. And if you're listening to this episode when it drops, it's the beginning of the year, which is a great time to start creating some new habits so you can get more done in less time. But no matter when you're listening to this, always remember it's never too late to start forming better habits. So the tips I'm going to share today will not be the normal things you hear about productivity, and I will definitely not tell you to batch tasks because I know it doesn't work for everyone, even though many productivity experts say that it's a one-size-fits-all solution. So I'm taking a different approach to productivity in today's episode. There is no shortage of productivity tips on the internet. And one of the biggest myths is that batching tasks saves you time. That being said, let me start by saying there is no one-size-fits-all solution. And since you're listening to this episode, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that batching doesn't really work for you, or you probably would not have tuned in. So let me start by talking about what the word batching really is. So batching in productivity terms means grouping similar tasks together to get them completed. The intention is for you to be hyper-focused, which increases your productivity, opposed to you switching back and forth between tasks, which decreases your productivity. Now, when I picked the topic for this episode, I Googled a few phrases to find my keywords, of course, and let me tell you, there is no shortage of tips if you search for productivity hacks for entrepreneurs. There are about 665,000. And when I searched productivity tips for entrepreneurs, there were over 7 million. Now, if you look at the results, there obviously is no end to the number of tips you can find. But many of them are going to be pretty much the same. So you'll see things like batching tasks for time management, no multitasking, learn to say no, delegate, stop compromising. I can go on and on, but I'm not going to do that. Basically, productivity is a huge topic in our world as solopreneurs. Why? Because when you figure out how to be more productive, you increase your output, which in your business increases your revenue, and overall, it frees up time in your schedule. And who doesn't want that? The truth is, running a business efficiently is not an easy task because there are so many moving parts in play. That makes it hard to be productive sometimes. Not to mention, we all work differently and no two businesses are alike, and every single one of us has different circumstances. So to boost your productivity, you have probably tried to batch tasks and you failed at it. But don't feel bad about that. The top 2 reasons I've heard women say are reasons that batching doesn't quite work for them is either because of the schedule or the way that their brain works. So let's approach productivity with a fresh outlook. The goal is to determine what things need to be done and then come up with a method that helps you organize and complete those tasks in a specified amount of time. That being said, we're going to talk about how you can do that. So here is tip number 1. You need to evaluate your schedule. The first thing you need to do is identify how many valuable hours you have each week and each day. We all get 24 hours, but how productive you are depends on how you use that time. So the first thing you need to do is write down the time that you get up in the morning and then the time that you go to bed. Those are the earmarks of your day. Then write out how many hours you work. If you have a 9 to 5, write your hours in there. If you drop your kids off and pick them up from school, include travel time. Do the same if they have other activities that they do outside the home. Then write out how many hours every week you want to spend with your family and see what you have left. You can then use that for working on your business, for self-care, anything that you want. Here's an example. So I work my part-time job 24 to 30 hours a week. 8 to 10 hours a week I volunteer, and then I have to break down what's left to take care of my other priorities. Now, I time block my schedule. So outside of the time that I block out for my job, which doesn't change, my time blocks are planned out in increments that range from 15 to 30 minutes or 1 to 2 hours for other tasks that I need to handle for things like client work, calls, podcast tasks, working on my business and working out. This helps me stay focused so that I can accomplish more because I'm not multitasking, but I'm maximizing my time. This also keeps me from getting overwhelmed by putting too much on my plate. Now, if you want to know more about how I time block my schedule, feel free to go back and listen to episode number 4 because I walk you through my process step by step. Now, once you've evaluated your schedule and you can see how much time you actually have to get things done, you can do tip number 2, which is limit your priorities. So here's the deal. The key to being productive when you're aware of how much time you actually have in your schedule does not mean that you need to jam pack it with as much as you can. So you have to determine what your priority tasks are first. Well, what makes something a priority? Well, a deadline definitely determines what needs to be a priority, right? But let's be honest, most of the things that we need to do don't have a hard deadline, so you get to decide what else you're going to spend your time on. We make time for what is important to us. So arrange your days so that you can focus on what's important to you. And here's the thing. That priority changes, and that is okay. You have to maintain a holistic viewpoint when it comes to what you're going to spend your time on. That is what creating an intentional business is all about. The real key is to figure out what balance looks like specifically for you based on your lifestyle and your goals, and then you work towards that. Don't forget to embrace the season of life that you're in and create goals that complement that. Then, based on all the things that are going on in your life, you need to realistically determine what you have time to focus on in your business. So limit your priorities to maybe 2 to 3 for the week, and then outline the associated tasks so that you can achieve those priorities every day in advance. Then you can hit the ground running once your day starts because you know exactly what you need to focus on. Once this is done, the next tip is going to be easier. It's definitely a game changer. Stop multitasking and focus your energy. Contrary to popular belief, multitasking does not help you get more done. You just end up with a bunch of incomplete tasks and projects. And to be honest, your efficiency is decreased when you jump from task to task, which means you may be making more errors, which can definitely be costly. So try this instead. Pick tasks that you can complete in the time that you have available. For example, I have roughly 8 to 12 hours for exercise, podcast tasks, client work, and to work on my own business. So I have to maximize those hours based on a number of variables. And I complete tasks based on the time that I have, which again varies each week and each day. So in the end, I have to be realistic and flexible when it comes to getting things done. But I don't hop from one thing to another. And if I have a large task, I break it down into smaller chunks until it's complete. And how am I productive with this approach? That leads me to tip number 4. Change your mindset about batching tasks. Now, you may be wondering how this is a tip. Well, stop and think about what batching means. You're just completing similar tasks. But here's where the mindset change is required. Don't focus on getting a large quantity of similar tasks done and focus on completing things at the same time, or focus on completing a task in stages. So here's how you can increase your productivity by doing things at the same time. This basically comes down to you having a routine for doing things every day. This includes tasks like checking your email, meal prep, cooking, taking phone calls, checking social media, stuff you do on a regular basis. The idea is to designate times for these routine tasks every day. Take emails, for example. Your inbox can be one of the biggest distractions outside of notifications and social media, right? So instead of being chained to your inbox, create a schedule for checking your email. sorting your emails, and responding to emails. If you need help with this, be sure to check out episode 19. Now, the same goes for social media. Two of my biz besties who are my go-to experts for help with Instagram are Shannon McKinstry and Allison Scholes. Both of them have taught me how to succeed on social media in just 30 minutes a day. And let me tell you, their method works. It's 3 10-minute intervals. So be sure you follow them on Instagram because their social media tips are going to be game-changing for you. My point? There are some tasks that we can complete in small batches to be productive. That relieves the pressure of having to do a lot at one time. Now, here's an example of completing tasks in stages. Think about how you wash your laundry. I don't know anyone who puts dirty clothes into the washing machine one piece at a time. We let it pile up, right? Now, while this is mostly because most of us don't like to do laundry, it's just not efficient. So I know for me, I let it all pile up until I'm out of something, which usually means I run out of workout clothes or underclothes, and then I do the laundry. The point is, this one task is tackled all at one time, but I do it in stages. Now, the stages may even be completed on different days. So while I may wash and dry the clothes on the same day, they usually stay in the dryer or even in the laundry basket until I want to put them on. Now, don't judge me, but I hope you get the point. I complete a few tasks at one time that are related to one big task, and then I move on to something else. That really is all that batching is about. So what usually happens when someone says batching doesn't work for me means that they've allowed someone else to determine what the end result of their work needs to be. But this is your life and your business, so you get to decide what the end result is. That's where the mindset change comes in. Now, I know there are women out there who feel that laundry isn't complete until it's folded and put up. Well, guess what? I'm not one of those women, and I'm okay with that. Washed and dried, making it to my bedroom, that's enough for me. So I get it to that point. Hey, it's better than not doing laundry at all. Now, let's use this same thought process when it comes to completing tasks in your business. You decide what complete needs to be and make a plan to get to that point based on your schedule. So I hope these tips have helped you see how you can get more done with the time that you have available. But let's recap the 4 tips before we wrap up. Tip number 1, evaluate your schedule. You need to look at your schedule and determine how much time you really have after you've identified the non-negotiables. Then create a plan to get those things done. Tip 2, limit your priorities. Do not pack your schedule with a bunch of tasks, but pick 2 to 3 priorities and break those down into smaller steps so that you can get them done without being overwhelmed. Tip number 3, stop multitasking and focus your energy. Focus on one task. Jumping from task to task is inefficient and it opens up the possibility of you making costly mistakes. Instead, focus on a few things, hint, hint, tip number 2, and work on those things until they're done. Tip number 4, change your mindset about batching tasks. Reframe your thinking about batching because you're probably already doing it anyway. When it comes to routine tasks, designate specific times to complete them every day. And for the bigger things, break them down into smaller stages that you can complete at different points based on what you have decided is the end point. So, I know these tips weren't huge revelations to you and that you've probably heard them before. But now I want you to pick at least one of these tips and put it into practice. One of the biggest roadblocks to productivity is task management combined with time management. So once you've identified the time that you actually have to get things done, you need to determine what tasks you're going to spend that time on. So I want to thank you so much for tuning into today's episode, and I hope these tips help you crush it this year. I'm going to put links to the episodes that I mentioned for you in the show notes, but I would love to hear which tip is your favorite. So feel free to DM me on Instagram at _Shannon Baker and let me know. Or you can take a screenshot, post it in Instagram stories, and tag me. I just want to hear from you. And remember, you are more than enough. So until next time, keep calm and streamline.